pretty neat deal, Carlos. You built this?
Yeah? No, I didn't, actually. My youngest son built it. And he didn't like it particularly, so he gave it to me.
It's just made out of scrap lumber?
Scrap lumber.
A little hinge there to help you get in some of your supplies. And
yeah, it will hold a bait can in there and holds the rod and back.
For the longer objects then, stick on here.
And it's good for sitting on. And in the front there, we got a lantern, see? And you can sit on here and hold your hands over the lantern, and really keeps you very, very nice and warm.
Plenty of light in the front of the hole, and that's just held on by a little hose clamp.
Yeah, put a hose clamp on there.
And
now, one of the things they didn't like were the runners. You see, he made a separate piece of wood here for the runners, which is okay. But what he preferred to do would be to have the whole side come down and form the
one
rudder
solid piece.
So it's one solid piece.
Okay, so you're having some problems with the rudder kind of loosening up.
It's loose, that's right. I tried to brace it. But as little ice fishing as I do, why, it's been real good. And you fill it up with fish from the front.
That's a nice idea. And that's just a single hinge then?
Yeah. If he did it again, he'd put two on.
Make it a little bit more sturdy.
That's right. Nice. But the best part of it was, it didn't cost a thing to build. And it's awful nice to get it for a gift.
Well, we took a look at Carlos's sled. His was made out of just 1x6-inch boards planks nailed together to form a box. We're going to be doing something a little different, be recycling some of our lumber here. We have some old painted up 3/4-inch plywood, roughly 2.5 by 3 foot is what we're going to use to make our sled, as well as using a couple 1/2-inch pieces of plywood as well. We'll be using a couple 2x4s to form our rudders or skis to help pull the sled across the ice, as well as some 3-inch and 1.25-inch wood screws. And you could use a circular saw to cut the wood out. We're going to be using a table saw. Now, if you have a 2.5 by 3 foot piece of plywood, all you have to do is make 2 simple cuts, and you're already framing up the front and sides of your ice fishing sled. That's what it'll look like here. You got your back here and the front up here. Then what we're going to do is take our 2x4s to make our skis and just put a diagonal cut there, and that's going to help it scoot across the ice a little easier. Just in case we may want to remodel our ice fishing sled in the future, we're going to be using some wood screws to hold it together. Nails just make it a little too hard if you want to take it apart. But let me give you a quick tip. If you're going to use a screw, you're going to want to pre-drill your holes first, because let me show you what happens if you don't. Well, that split that pretty good. One way to prevent that is if you take your drill and drill a pilot hole. Make sure you go all the way through, and the drill bit should be a little smaller than the screw itself. That's going to prevent it from splitting out on you. I'm going to drill the pilot holes to help tie the sides together. Now what we're using is a drill that's the same size as a screw. And then we're going to clamp it all together and finish drilling the pilot holes into the board once it's all clamped together. Now that we tied the box together, we're using the screws. It's going to give us a nice sturdy box. Now I've gone ahead already and attached the skis to what's going to be the bottom of our ice fishing sled, using 4 screws on each hole, and that's going to give us a nice sturdy ski. And the reason we recessed that in is so we're able to attach the bottom to the sides of the box, and we're going to go ahead and screw that together. Well, we have the bottom and the skis already firmly attached to the bottom of the sled. It's going to work out pretty good. Now for the seat, or the top, instead of using hinges, we just mounted a couple scrap pieces of wood onto the bottom, which fits nicely into the box, and that's going to prevent it from sliding off. And that also gives you some nice room to have your rods and some of your other fishing gear hang out the back. In our last step, we're just going to install a couple eye bolts to the top of each ski so we can attach our rope and haul the sled out onto the ice.